Hello everyone, my name is Marissa and welcome to Picture Perfect Paint Parties. Alright, so today I've already sketched out something on my canvas really quick. It's just doing something super simple. We're going to paint a vase with a couple flowers, and in the background we're going to do something equally as simple. So I'm going to start off. Also, I have a few paint colors here. I have orange, yellow, a couple of different pinks, and a blue and a brown. Gently lay that down. Okay, so you can't really see on camera, but I've already sketched out, like I said before, so I kind of already planned and know what I'm doing. So I'm just going to start off taking a larger brush. I'm going to lightly dip in my water. So I have my can of water here, dipping it in, squeezing out most of the water so it's not dripping. And I'm going to go into my pink. Just simply because that's the color that I want my vase to be. So I have quite a bit of pink on there, and I will just paint on there. Now, don't worry too much about getting outside of the lines. My favorite thing about painting is that you can always paint right over it. So don't stress too much. This is supposed to be simple and fun. Give you a little bit of a challenge, but keep it kind of easy. Dip my brush back into the pink. Okay, so I'm going to clean my brush. And I have a rag here, and you're just gonna wipe it off till your brush is clean. And I'm going to do this part, like the head of the vase, pretty much in the same color. I'm going to take a bit of a smaller brush. Do the same thing. Have your water, dip your brush in your water, and you're going to tap your brush on the side of it so you get rid of all of that excess water. Go back in with your pink or whatever color you chose for your vase. Repaint the very top of it. Now, for your first layer of paint, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be kind of messy. It's just getting the base layer down first, and then as it dries, you can go back in and add more paint to it as you like. So now I have the majority of the base for the vase done. I am going to move on to the flowers. So I'm going to take a rounded brush. So it's a small little rounded brush here. Once again, dipping in the water, getting rid of the majority of the water off of the brush. I'm going to start off with the leaves, or the petals of the flower. Sorry, I'm getting rid of a cold right now, so my voice just disappears just randomly. So if I sound like I've been smoking for about 25 years, I promise you I haven't, because I haven't been alive for that long. Okay, so I have my yellow, that's the color I'm going to make my flowers. And we're going to go back in and fill in the flowers. Now the reason I chose a little rounded brush is because when you're painting flowers, majority of them are rounded and they're very soft. And that having a rounded brush will help you a lot when you're painting stuff like that, rather than a little flat brush, because that will make it so much harder. Not impossible, but your brush should help you paint and not be a hindrance, basically. Now, of course, you can do as many petals, as little petals, as big as you want them, as small as you want them. Remember, you are the artist, so you can do what you like. You don't have to copy me. You don't have to copy anyone else. Yes, we are all pretty much doing very similar things. We're all painting a vase and a flower, but at the end of the day, it will still be yours because you created it. And they will all end up looking very different, which is a good thing. Now, if your paint ever becomes too dry, you're going to go back in with your water, and you're going to dip your brush in and use the smallest amount of water. And you're just going to mix that in with your paint. And all that does is makes your paint go longer, but also thins it out a little bit and gives you a smoother application. Okay, so now I'm fairly happy with the petals. I'm going to go back in with my water, clean that off, clean the brush off, take my rag, clean it off, set it to the side. Now I'm going to start with the middle part of the petal, or the flower, which my flowers on the inside will be brown. So I'm going to take my brown, and then I'm going to paint the inside. can kind of see it coming together a little bit. Okay, so we got the first layer on that. And then we'll go in with the stems of the flowers. Trying to pick the right paintbrush. I'll go with this one guy. Okay. Now I'm going to take my green. Now I'm not a big fan of this green that I have here, so I'm going to lighten it a bit. Let's see if I can show this. So I have my green right here. It's too dark for me, so I'm going to grab a little bit of the green, go down here on the palette, and take a little bit of the yellow. Maybe a lot of bit of the yellow. And then now I just mix a different green. Now, mixing colors is one of my favorite things on the planet. If you talk to me about colors, you will talk to me for about 10 years maybe. So, there's so many different ways you can do with color. So now, I'm going to paint these stems. I'm going to use my other hand here. See, and I left the stems empty, like I painted around where I would paint the stem. So that's why there's empty space right there. Now I'm not gonna make my stems super pin straight. I'm gonna make them a little bit wonky and wobbly. Base layer of that. Now just to save time, I'm gonna go in the background. Oh my god. And then throw all your brushes everywhere. So I'm gonna take the same large brush that I painted the vase with. And then so for the background, you can do something simple. You can just paint the background one color. You can do an ombre. So say from the top can be dark blue, going all the way to the bottom can gradient down to a lighter blue. It can be a different color. You can do a pattern on the background. You can write something. That part I will leave open. It will be entirely up to you. For me, I think we're going to do blue on the background. blue is my favorite color. Every painting that I've ever done has blue in it, one way or another. So, I mean, why would I stop now? I'm just gonna go around the vase. Now I am leaving space down here because I think I'm going to paint that a different color and kind of be kind of like a table that the vase is sitting on, just so the vase isn't floating in outer space. But you don't have to do that. It's entirely up to you. Now, like I said before, if you make a mistake and you paint over a part of the vase, you can always paint over it. So please do not stress about that. Great thing about paint, you can always paint over it. I say that to my teachers and my students all the time. You can always paint over it. My canvas is running away from me here. There we go. And the cool thing about painting, you can also think it as for also a sculptor. You can see how I have the vase and the background almost sculpts the vase around it. So not only are you a painter, you're now also a sculptor. Make sure our canvas stays on the table. I work on a glass desk, so everything slides everywhere all the time. Now another option, I probably should have said this in the beginning, but you could also paint your background first and then the vase or whatever you have in your in your foreground. Okay, so I have the majority of the blue covered in the background. I'm just going to clean off my brush, set that to the side. And now I'm going to take a smaller brush and go in between all of the flowers. Now, if you ever want to mix a color, do not be afraid to come up to me and ask me, hey, how do I make green? Or a certain shade of green, or, whatever. Now, I'm going to keep my painting kind of abstract, sort of. I'm not going to go in with details and like shade the vase and go with a lot of detail basically. So I'm going to keep it very vague. Okay, so I have most of that mapped out. And now I'm going to do the little petals, or like the little leaves on the side of outside of the stem. So I'm going to go back in with that same green that I've made before. I'm going to paint that as well. Okay, so I've got that. I will be honest, I do kind of like the little white parts that are separating like around the flowers. So I think we can leave that there. it kind of looks like, it reminds me of like a sticker, basically. Very interesting. Anyway, so now I think I'm going to paint the bottom, like the table part of the painting. So we'll go back in with that same fairly large brush that we used for the background and the vase. Now I am one to use 5,000 different brushes, but for today we're going to keep it to a maximum of 5. Now this part I think I'm going to mix a color together. I'm going to take my dark pink, I'm going to do dark pink and a bit of orange. We'll see how that turns out. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, because I left that white space around the flowers, I think I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. So I'm going to carve out my line, and then I'm going to leave that white space there. Again, you do not have to do this. It is entirely up to you. This is turning into a very Matisse type of painting. Now, another thing I say to my students all the time is that don't forget to paint the sides of your canvas as well. And that part is just as important, especially when you go to hang it up in your house and then you see it when you're passing by the painting and you see there's these little white spots where you didn't decide to paint the sides of the canvas. It's just a personal pet peeve of mine. You don't have to do this. But for me personally, I have to. Okay. I'm just grabbing a bit more paint, using a lot more paint than I originally thought I would, which is fine. Alright, so we have that done. Once again, cleaning my brush and the water. Getting rid of all the excess water out of the brush. Then wiping it on my rag. Alright, so think for me, I'm gonna go back in with the vase and do like one more coat. Maybe do a little bit up here. Now I might do a small amount of shading just on like the open mouth part of the vase, which is up here at the very top. So I'm actually going to take the same color I used for the bottom of the painting. I'm going to mix in with just a little bit, mix it in with that pink, just to make the pink a little bit darker. And then I would just do the very outer part. Of the vase. There you go. I'm gonna do very like sketchy type of brush strokes with my paintbrush and just do a bit of shading on the outside curvature of the vase. And I am darkening in between the flowers inside of the vase as well. Okay. And because I did the shadow, I'm also going to do the opposite and do the highlight. So I'm not just going to take pure white for a highlight. I'm actually going to take the same red that I used for the bottom and the same pink I used for the vase. I'm going to mix those two together and create a nice highlight with that color. I'm just going to do like the very outer rim of the base of the vase. Okay, so I like the way it looks. Again, if you don't like the brush strokes that are in the painting, you can just go with another layer or 12 and get rid of that texture. I quite like it. I like the how loose everything is. I'm one of those people that I like my paintings to be as perfect as possible. So try to keep the perfectionism down a little bit. Now, of course, every artist has to sign their name. So, to sign your name, at least how I do it, is I take, once again, take my brush. I take a very fine tipped brush and very pointed. It's just easier to write your name because it's obviously not a pen, so there's no ink constantly coming out of it. So I just take my water, take my brush, and I actually get quite a bit of water into my paintbrush, and then you can pick any color. So my background is this reddish, like a nice burgundy color. So I think I'm going to take I might take the blue actually. So I'm going to take the blue and I'm going to make it pretty fine. So I'm going to take quite a bit of water with your paint, and you're essentially going to make it almost like an ink with it. Because again, this isn't ink coming out of a pen, so I'm gonna have to make it. So I have quite a bit of blue on there, and I'm just going to write my name. Then of course you can do the date. So I'm gonna do okay. I know you couldn't really see that. Bring you forward. So there you go. Got our little flowers, got a pretty pink vase, and then you have the table, and we've also have our little signature there. Alright. Well, thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed today. Hope it was fun. Hope it was relaxing as well. Hope you had great memories. And I hope to see you guys again. My name is Marissa, and thank you so much for being here today. Goodbye.